Hello, welcome to 180 Days of Lang. Today is all about the T in Space Cat, which stands for tone. If you're not familiar, Space Cat is the acronym we use in rhetorical situation. The space part is your rhetorical or in rhetorical analysis. The space part, speaker, purpose, audience, context, exigence, is for your rhetorical situation. And then the cat part, choices, appeals, and tone, are the more analysis things on top of the rhetorical situation. So choices gets more into stuff we'll cover later in this unit, but we've already discussed appeals, and today is all about tone. So this is a word that we use in our literature studies. Students can usually tell you it's something to do with like how the speaker feels about the text, their attitude, that sort of thing. But there's more to it in rhetoric, of course, so it gets its own lesson because I tell my students in a pinch on a rhetorical analysis essay with a really difficult prompt, they can always write about the tone. So what I love about this self-contained lesson is it's really easy to share with other teachers, and I'm actually going to do just that. I've got a link to this entire lesson for free in my description. When you sign up for it, it will add you to my email list, but that's also how I communicate other freebies to English teachers. I let you know about product updates. So for example, when I finish the Unit 3 updates on the lesson plans and all the other ones, I let my email list know first. When there's a sale, I let my email list know first. So that's a good thing to be on because I also share out a weekly newsletter with kind of a condensed list of tips for teachers. So here's what my study of tone looks like in my class. So this is lesson 6 if you are using the Unit 2 lesson plans, but they have guided notes that go along with this slideshow. So first we start with the warm-up, and I have them do a little creative writing. We don't get to do a lot of that in Lang, but I have them think about a character. It could be a real one or they can make one up, and they have to write a little bit about that character in a way to make the reader really dislike him or her. So what are some things about them that this is a really dislikable character? But then I want them to write about that same character in a way that makes them really like him or her. So for example, I sometimes have students do the Jean Valjean thing of this guy is a thief and he's on the run from the police, and then in the second paragraph, this man stole a loaf of bread to feed his family and he is now the mayor of a town. So just the choices that they include about the character, the details or what that they include help unlock the tone. So my visual for this is like the paint chips. When you go to the store, at the hardware store, and you say, I need green paint. There's no just color called green. There's 50 different shades of green. You have to get the connotation just right for the words to convey a certain tone. You have to get the shade of green just right to create the mood or the atmosphere of the room you want to paint. So I have students talk with partners throughout this lesson. So I usually just assign them like the person in the row across from them or at the same table. And first we just have a conversation about how is our tone different in formal versus informal speaking of writing. And then I have them look at these texting language examples. So these come up one at a time on the slideshow, but we talk about the power of emojis and punctuation just in simple texting language, and how even something as simple as bothering to end your sentence with a period. So I'm a millennial teacher. If you're my age or older, or you're just an English teacher, you might properly punctuate your text messages, but your Gen, whatever they are now, Z, Alpha students will tell you that, no, that means you're mad. If you properly punctuate your sentences with a period, you are angry. And so we talk about just tone and how we convey that in different ways through texting language. We focus our building of tone on 3 things: diction, imagery, and details. And so we go through several of those things. So diction, we talk about the connotation of the word. Why this word? So we have these examples of different kinds of laughter, and I have them rank them from like the smallest laugh, which is usually they put down like a snicker, to the biggest laugh, which is like a roar. You also get to explain, I like to just demonstrate for them, it's some contagious laughter in the classroom of what these different things sound like. Then I have them talk about like the different connotations of these words. So these all mean old, like mature, experience, antique, senior. Some of these words you would use with people, some of them you would use with objects. Some have positive or negative connotations. Some of them it just depends on the context. So then we move on to imagery. Imagery is another one of those rhetorical choices that it's in every text that they're going to put in front of you for the rhetorical analysis question on the exam. There's some note to make about the imagery there. So this is a really important term for them to know. And it's different from detail because imagery is really all about that sensory language. And then of course I give them the lecture on not writing it paints a picture in the reader's head or anything like that, just being more specific. And then just defining details, we talk about what's included in the text and what details are left out. So going back to our creative writing examples, if I'm writing about Jean Valjean, when I want the reader to hate him, I left out the part that he was actually just trying to take care of his family when he stole. But I included those details when I wanted the character to like or to sympathize for him. So details matter. And I demonstrate that. I've always found this to be an effective video for it. So I gotta admit, like I'm an Apple fangirl, and when the Apple Watch came out, they have incredible marketing people in-house at Apple. They're $1 trillion company, of course they do. But when the Apple Watch was first announced, this is like the first of its kind smartwatch, they didn't say a word in the video. And if you play this one, it doesn't have any words at all. It's just visuals. But what they show you versus what they don't show you is really telling. So for example, they give you lots of like visual language details, a little bit of hints to the functionality of it, but they don't include price, they don't include battery life, they don't include when it's available, because it was the first iteration of the product and those things were like maybe not the best parts of it at the time. So that's a good example for details, what's left in versus, or what's included versus what's left out about the text. And then we finish up the notes by talking about the importance of shifts in tone. So is there a lot more to say about tone and rhetorical analysis? Yes, obviously, but it's because it's so part and parcel to everything that we do in our study of text from this point on. It just comes up in its regular practice. This is just to give us the common language to talk about it. What's the tone? All right, how do you know that? What details are included? What type of diction are they using? What imagery is there? So we can have that foundational set of words just to discuss it. So if you have a block schedule class, you may have a lot of extra time at the end of this lesson, or you may want to just continue focusing on tone before you move on to the next thing. So I have something fun to show you. It's not included in the tone lesson, but I will link it separately as well. This is outside of the units. This is the best-selling item in my TPT store. It's a game I came up with in the pandemic when I was lonely and wish I had people to play games with. And then now I can. It's so much fun. It's called The Author Uses Tone. We got Space Cat on the box here. The box, like the little template, is included. And basically, if you've ever played a game like Apples to Apples, it works just like that. So there's two sets, and you just get, these are just printouts, and you just cut them apart. But you get a set of these black cards and a set of these white cards. So this is to teach kids tone words. They can tell you if it has a positive or a negative tone, but they can't tell you more specific than that sometimes. So if they're struggling to find the right tone word, which heads up, they all are, and we are too as adults, this is a good way for them to build vocabulary because the category cards the tone cards have a tone word and then 3 synonyms for it. So, they're going to learn more specific tone words than positive, negative. So how it works is if they're sitting in a circle, a small group is playing, someone puts down a tone word, and then they have a few cards in their hand, and these are like situations, things they would be writing, and they have to pick which one best fits that tone. So if I play an elegiac tone, an expressing sorrow or a sense of loss or grief, I might look and see which of these texts is best written in an elegiac tone. An appeal to your member of Congress to increase teacher pay, a birthday card to someone with the same birthday as you, an invitation to the Obamas to attend your high school graduation, or the docuseries you pitch to Netflix about the thing your town is most famous for. So they all have that quirky bent to them that really connects with teenagers. These were made by me, someone who has spent way too much time with teenagers in the last decade of my life. So they would pick which one has the most elegiac tone and put it down, and then the judge for that round would choose. There's a better explainer video in the preview for this product if you click on the link. But this was so popular that I was motivated to make 2 expansions. So by the way, this one is called The Author Uses Tone, and that's a joke because we do not want students to write that sentence in their essays, and they always do when they're first writing it, because of course there's always a tone, right? So that's why it's called that. It's a joke for teachers. But then I came up with my expansion packs. The author uses tone strongly, and the author uses tone extensively. Also real sentences that I think I've seen in student writing, with just more cards to choose from. So again, the link is in the description if you are interested in that, adding that game to your classroom game shelf for after testing or to review for the exam or just to practice as you're studying tone in AP language. But I think this might be my favorite thing I've made for this class because it's a lot of fun and we could just bust it out whenever we need to practice. Anyway, this has been a longer video than I intended, but the whole tone lesson, free, linked in the description. All of my Unit 2 lesson plans linked in the description, and I'll put the tone game in the description as well in case you want to check it out. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.